Hey everyone, my name is James Goggin. I am the Customer Outreach and Engagement Manager here at OneKey. And I thought it was important for us to get together now that LDC has been live so that we can have a conversation about the most important things that you see on your plate. So we've been working hard in LDC. I've been diving into LDC for the past few months here to wrap my head around what it is and how it'll impact your business. Because as we know, this is a change to your business, and it's important that we get ahead of your questions and we answer all those questions that come up for you guys. So part of the reason that this exists is to make sure that our data that we have is clean. It's important for us. It's important for you. It's important for our fellow realtors. It's also important for our customers to have this clean information. So the LDC in the background is going to do a lot of the heavy liftings here. But some of these potential violations are still going to be manually checked by our compliance team on the back end. In most cases, if you have a violation that may not be accurate, either the listing agent or the broker can dispute that violation. And I know there's going to be questions as we work our way through this LDC here. So before we get to your pressing questions, I want to show you a video that may answer some of them. I'll be with you at the end here, so please stick around and ask those questions. I do have some questions that are the most frequently asked, so we'll get to those as well. But bear with me just a second while I get this video launched, and we'll go ahead and play this, and then afterward we'll do a Q&A session here. All right. OneKeyers. As many of you already know, LDC, the listing data checker, is going to be going live April 1st. So it's important for us to understand what our options are if we do find ourselves in a situation where we have some kind of violation. Now, I will provide more screenshots and I will provide more content surrounding what this actually looks like. But for now, I wanted to walk you through a flow chart so you have a better understanding of what's going on behind the scenes and what your options are. So if we do find ourselves in a situation where we have a violation, we will, of course, be notified. And at that point, what we'll do is we'll log into our Keystone dashboard. Now, Keystone is where you may have purchased lockboxes or assigned your EULA. But what it's going to have on the left-hand side is a new tab called Compliance. That's where you're going to go to see any violations that you have and any outstanding invoices that you have. If you do find yourself in a situation where there is an invoice generated because of a violation, you do have the option to dispute that violation. And you do have 30 days to dispute that. And that dispute could come from the listing agent or the broker of record. Now, if those 30 days elapse and there is no dispute filed, that invoice becomes final and you have 30 days to make that payment. If you do decide, or your broker of record decides that, yes, I would like to dispute this violation, you'll log right into Keystone. On every listing, there will be on every violation, there will be a dispute button. Now, if you don't see that button, it may be because that violation in question must be fixed before you can dispute it. If you do wish to dispute, click that button. What you'll do is you'll upload any supporting documentation, you'll provide your commentary, and you'll hit that submit button. Now, we may come back to you and say, hey, we need more information, we need more documents, we need more commentary. At that point, you'll go through the same process and hit submit. After we've collected all of this information, we will submit it for an administrative review. And that's done by the Rules and Procedures Committee. Okay? There are two potential outcomes of this administrative review. The first outcome is that that violation is waived. That invoice is written off, you owe nothing. The other potential outcome is that administrative review is denied. We will send you an email, you will be notified. And at that point, your broker of record can decide that they would like to request a rules violation hearing. And that has to be done within 20 days. If no request for a rules violation hearing is made within 20 days, that invoice is generated and that invoice becomes final. Must be paid within 30 days. Okay? If your broker of record decides that they would like to request that rules violation hearing, that rules violation hearing is heard by the Rules and Procedures Committee. There are three potential outcomes of this rules violation hearing. The first one, that invoice that violation is waived, that invoice is written off, you owe nothing. Or that violation and that invoice are reduced. At that point, the invoice is regenerated and you have 30 days to make that payment. The other outcome is that rules violation hearing is denied. And at that point, the broker of record also has 10 days to request an appeal. And that appeal is in front of the Board of Managers. If those 10 days elapse and no appeal is filed, or the appeal is filed late, that invoice is regenerated and it becomes final. Again, you have 30 days to make that payment. If the broker of record appeals to the Board of Managers, the Board of Managers will review all of the information. And at that point, that appeal has three potential outcomes again. One, that invoice is reduced, that violation is reduced. And at that point, that invoice becomes final to be paid within 30 days. That violation could be waived. That invoice is written off, and at that point, you owe nothing. The third potential outcome is that that violation or that appeal is denied. At that point, there is a reissue of an invoice that becomes payable within 30 days. At any point within this process, you'll see on the left-hand side here in green, the broker, not the listing agent, the broker can withdraw that dispute at any step in the dispute process. And at that point, again, an invoice is reissued and that becomes payable within 30 days. Now remember, I will create more content around this, but I want you guys to have an idea of what's going on behind the scenes and what your options are if you do find yourselves with a violation. Remember, the listing agent can file that initial dispute. Every other request or every other appeal must be done by the broker of record. More to come. All right. So as you kind of wrap your head around this LDC process and the flow chart that I just shared, I'm sure you're going to have questions, and that's okay. We are here to help you out through this entire process. What we'll do now is, kind of as you formulate those questions, I do have some questions that have come in previously that I think are important to tackle. So I have these pulled up right here, and I'll just kind of read them out to you so you understand what the question is, and then I'll go ahead and answer those. So first question is, who can dispute a violation? And if we're using this word dispute, the answer would be, it would be the listing agent or the broker of record. Now, it's important to understand the difference between a dispute and appeal. Okay, when we get down on that flow chart that we looked at previously, dispute is the first process by which we're looking at when a violation comes in. And of course, that can be done again by the listing agent or the broker of record. When we're looking at a broker requesting a rules violation, that is done by the broker of record. The listing agent wouldn't be allowed to do that. As we make our way down that flow chart, if the broker wishes to appeal to the Board of Managers, that would be done again by the broker of record. That would not be done by the listing agent. The next question here, are violations final? No, and I think we kind of explained that during the flow chart. Most violations are not final. You do have the ability to dispute those violations. There are some circumstances where you are not able to dispute that violation, and so this might be like a fair housing violation or something like that, or a compliance violation. How many days to pay my bill? You have 30 days to pay your bill. Unless you're going through this dispute process or you're appealing to the Board of Managers, that of course is pushed off because you're going through that process. How do I dispute? All of this is done through Keystone. So Keystone, you should see on your Matrix dashboard. It says my account. I had a screenshot there in that video. It's going to say my account. It might have been where you purchased a lockbox or paid for your lockbox or signed your EULA, something like that. It's all done through Keystone. What's the difference between disputing a violation and requesting a rules violation? So this is a great question. I touched on this before. Disputing a violation is the first step in this process. That's the first step in this process where the listing agent or the broker of record can then go ahead and dispute that violation. As we make our way down, if that dispute is rejected, at that point, then the broker would get involved, and then they can take that further. What if there's an error in the LDC? So this is a great question. What if there's something going on in the LDC and you feel as though the LDC flagged your listing erroneously? Well, good question. All you'd have to do at that point is just go ahead and hit that dispute button, submit all the supporting documentation. At that point, it would go to our compliance team and they would take a look and figure things out on their end. How do I log into Keystone? So another good question. That's that tile that we looked at before that would say my account. Again, it's where you signed your EULA. It's where you might have gotten your lockbox, made a payment. How will I be notified of a violation? So you'll need to be notified via email. You'll also see it in your Keystone account when you log into your Keystone account as well. Another good question here. Can my office manager dispute a violation for me? And this is a good question. No, your office manager may not dispute a violation for you. They can see the violation, but they may not dispute that violation unless your office manager is your broker of record. In that case, yes. What if my dispute button is not clickable? Well, as that dashing gentleman in the video said before, if your dispute button is not clickable, it may mean that you have to update your listing first. You have to fix your listing first before you can go ahead and then click it. And there is a little bit of a lag time between you fixing that listing and then logging into that Keystone and seeing that dispute button is clickable. That doesn't happen immediately, but rest assured you will have that opportunity. The last question I have on my list, can I check to see if my listing has any violations? Another really good question. And the answer is yes. After you publish your listing, if you click on the edit button next to your listing, you should see an option for check it. All one word, check it. And what that's going to do is going to compare the listing that you just submitted to the MLS against the LDC, what the LDC shows in the back end, and it's going to show you any potential violations that may exist. Now, caveat to this, the check it option may not catch all of the potential violations. It may not catch compensation related information. It may not catch some fair housing, but it will do a good job of matching up what we have or what LDC has in the back end with public records versus what you have inputted into your listing. So I highly encourage you, after you click that submit button, to go ahead and click on that edit button, go back and click that check it button to see if there are any outstanding potential violations on that listing. Those are all of the questions that I have that I've collected over the past month or so from other OneKeyers. If you do have any questions, I'm happy to tackle those. If not, keep an eye on our communications, keep an eye on the content that we're pushing out, keep an eye on the KBs, because we're constantly updating KBs and publishing new knowledge-based articles depending on what questions we get and any input we have from you all. Okay. All right. It looks like I did a fantastic job here because there are no other questions. I'll hang out here for just another minute. That way, if there are any questions that come in, I'll go ahead and answer those. But thank you all for your time here today. I know your time is important to you. I thank you for spending some time with me on this wonderful spring day that we have here. Where can I adjust my fines in OneKey? So you'd want to head over to your Keystone, Keystone. That's where all of your violations will be, and all of your violations are tied to those fines. Great question, Valerie. All right. Well, thank you all for your time. I really appreciate your time here today. 15 minutes in and out. Thank you, guys. I hope I answered any lingering questions that you have. As always, if you have other questions, please feel free to reach out. I am happy to help out. Our compliance team is happy to help out. One more question that just came in. How do I get to Keystone? That would be through your Matrix dashboard. You'll see a tile there that says My Account. You just go ahead and click on that. On the left-hand side, there's going to be a tab there for compliance. If you go ahead and click on that, that's going to give you all of the information you could possibly want. All right. Well, thank you all so very much. I appreciate your time. Enjoy your day. Enjoy this beautiful weather. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out.